And we're back with another episode of Before You Buy. You know that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and some of our first impressions on the latest games releasing? Well, today we're talking about Mario Tennis Aces for Nintendo Switch. With this, Mario is back on his sports game business, and it's a pretty standard outing that you'd come to kind of expect at this point. It's the 7th direct Mario Tennis game, and at this point, it doesn't really totally redefine the wheel, but adds a fair bit of interesting stuff, and is still just incredibly fun at its core, and has only the same slight caveats that I always bring up with the other Mario sports games, but I'll get to that in a bit though, because Aces has a single-player mode titled Adventure Mode that's a whole story-based playthrough, and it's pretty much a first time for the console tennis installments. There's a dark force involving a special evil tennis racket that literally, basically wants to gather the infinity stones of tennis racket decorations, and then Waluigi and Wario are also up to no good. I will say, I think it's pretty cool that they get some time to shine. I do really appreciate that. But really, it's up to Mario and Toad and eventually his other friends to journey around these islands and just basically beat everyone's ass in tennis. As a whole, it's pretty damn short and bare bones, if I'm honest. On the flip side though, it is a nice playthrough. There are all types of variations introduced, like weird courts and objects moving around, stuff you have to dodge or something you have to watch out for in the environment, as well as these cool boss battles that can actually be kind of challenging. I just appreciate that there's a slight progression system involving leveling up your character and even getting and equipping different rackets. It's all really, really simple, but the game does benefit from its inclusion. But from the progression system to the actual adventure mode itself, it just feels really, really slight. And it just doesn't even translate to other modes anyway. The single-player adventure is totally fine and fun, like I said. It's just brief, and it feels like the ride is over just as it starts picking up. Ace's tennis gameplay seems pretty rock solid to me, though, just that core gameplay. It's what you expect. It's easy pick up and play tennis, but with some abilities like trick shots that need to be timed just right, but are often lifesavers, and they fill your meter along with just successful charged rallies back and forth. So then you take that meter juice and spend it on a few things like either zone speed or zone shots, which basically allows you to use slow motion to either blast a shot past your opponent in first person aiming, or use that slow motion to properly defend and block a shot. Choose wisely though when you want to spend that meter, because tennis is just as much like a mind game as it is a chase for points. That meter, when completely full, can also be spent on special shots, which are usually, if you do it right, it's an automatic score, and it looks cool. You can also shatter an opponent's racket with the right shot, and players have a limited number of rackets to go through, and you gotta worry about that. Using this stuff in the proper way does take a little bit getting used to. I will say, if you bring a more casual friend or family member into the fold, you're gonna have to show them the ropes for a few minutes so they can really get a fair shot. But besides that, the tennis gameplay is really goddamn fun. It gets tense and stressful in all the right ways, and it's one of the few games that really had me agonizing and wanting to toss my freaking Switch to a wall, thanks to just some really good challenge, and that, to me, is a good thing in my book. Because then, of course, you have tournament mode to play through multiple tournaments, either against the CPU, which get a bit challenging towards the end, or just play with a friend. This is really the game's bread and butter, even if it doesn't give you multiple difficulties or reasons to play again. It's worth mentioning that outside of these CPU tournaments, the game doesn't actually allow you to play full established rules games of tennis. In all other modes, you have the same scoring and rules stuff, but not the full game set and match rules. It's a bit more streamlined and shortened here. It seems like Nintendo was prioritizing quick pickup and plays. And I'll be honest, as someone who doesn't know much about tennis, I barely noticed the difference and still had fun, but I have heard from other players that aren't so happy, as it cuts down on some of the, learn your opponent and the mental chess type of stuff that tennis is really known for. If you're not a big tennis fan, it may not be a big deal breaker, but it definitely might be for a select few, at least who I've talked to. Here's hoping, though, that they fix that in updates, but with Nintendo, who knows? It's also interesting because previous games in the series allowed you to tweak the rules more, so why this doesn't just seems like a strange issue. Moving on, though, there is online play, and in my experience, it's been decent. I've had some slight lag here and there, but I've never had an issue finding a match in any mode or anything. Slowdown in a tennis game does certainly kind of suck, and it was there occasionally. Partially, it seems like it may have been my internet. I still hope there are slight tweaks and improvements, but for me, it has been playable and enjoyable, even if it's just kind of just me always getting my ass kicked. But that's not an issue with the game itself. Moving on, there's also swing mode, which Nintendo seems to be making a big deal out of. This allows you to play while holding one of the Joy-Cons and swinging it like a real racket. But I'll be completely honest, I didn't find this mode very fun at all. My swings didn't just translate completely right with what I wanted to do specifically, and it's just not what I personally was even looking for in a game experience. I want to play the old-fashioned way. That's just me. The game does look gorgeous though. Like other Mario games, everything is crisp and bright, and the courts are so highly detailed, especially in some of the adventure mode forest stuff. It makes for some of the better looking Switch games right now, big time. Characters are awesome with these new redesigns and interesting additions like a Chain Chomp. And plus now, for the first time ever, there are alternate costumes, which is cool. But to go back, playing with friends and family on the couch, whatever the mode, is really the best though. You can't beat it. The actual back and forth tennis gameplay is so fun. It makes a lot of my other issues with the game completely melt away. Picking and getting used to your favorite character and dominating during a party or some sort of play is just a great feeling, especially with gameplay as tight as it is here, like I said. But with a lot of these Mario offshoot games, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on Switch before it, the same issue arises, and I brought it up with Mario Kart. The gameplay is great and totally awesome, but if you don't have many friends, the game doesn't do a ton to keep you around as a single player. If you always have folks around to play with, hell yeah, but if not, I hope you're hardcore into the online scene, because once you beat everything, that's what you got. There doesn't seem to be much in between, really. Now, there are ongoing tournaments each month that have characters to unlock by playing them, which is designed to kind of incentivize people a little more, and I think that's a good step, but if you're a lonely solo player, it's just worth being aware and something to keep in mind in your purchase. Because otherwise, this is a really fun, if only somewhat flawed package. If you're a fan, you'll likely be pleased, save for a few little things here and there. And if you got a Nintendo Switch and you're just looking to have fun with friends and stuff, this is the game right now, I will tell you that. You will enjoy it. But that's a before you buy, of course. You know how it goes down by now. I gave you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, so now I definitely want to hear yours down in the comments. Maybe you've been playing every single Mario Tennis game ever. How do you feel about this? I want to hear your perspective, because I've played most of them, but I've never been a die-hard fan. But on the other side of the field, maybe your Nintendo Switch is the first Nintendo console you've had in a while, and this is your first foray. I want to know how you're feeling on this. But either way, if these before you buy videos help you, first of all, we really appreciate the feedback. We always do, and we're glad you guys enjoy these. But clicking the like button does help us out. We really appreciate it. But if you are new, you should consider subscribing, because we put out videos like this and more every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.